Going live? Yes, we're live. Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and I'm with Anspach Media. But today we're going to be doing an interview with a Business Dojo member, Steve Gamlin. Is that right?
Yes, that's it, Rob. Great to be
All right.
here.
So this is basically going to be a fireside chat without the fire. So, and we're going to kind of hit on a lot of different subjects, but most of it's just going to be a general conversation, laid back. So enjoy, and hopefully you get some value out of what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to introduce Steve, and Steve can share a little bit about himself and his background. And speaking of background, he can share his dating game set and stage back there, and kind of tell us why he built it the way he did.
hmm My background was in the radio industry. I was in there from 1992 to 2002. Did about 15 years worth of hours in 10 and absolutely burnt myself into the ground. Physically, mentally, emotionally was absolutely fried. So at age 35, I decided to have the early midlife crisis, quit my radio career without a full-time job, went through a divorce, and found myself $65,000 in debt with nowhere to live to call my own, and basically crawled home busted to live with family to kind of put it all back together. I kind of felt like the old cartoons, like Tom and Jerry, where the bomb would go off, and Tom would be sitting there covered with soot and big eyes going, what happened? That's pretty much me, according to my journals, because God bless Tony Robbins. I've been keeping hardbound journals for the past 25 years. So even during those really rough couple of years, putting it all back together, I knew I wanted to entertain people. I knew I wanted to help people out. And ultimately, through the journaling and through just wanting to be in a fun atmosphere, I created this recording studio. And black and red at the time, my two favorite colors, I just plastered this place in black and red in the recording studio, in the vocal booth, and in my little workshop on the other side of the glass. And a buddy of mine walked in one day and he goes, oh my gosh, you bought the set from the dating game. Look at this. It's like a 70s, bachelor pad had exploded in my dad's basement. And it's just become the source of a lot of great positive energy. What ultimately led to me becoming a speaker 11 years ago was kind of from the ashes of all of these things. Just really was a mess. And what I wanted to do was create a place that I could just be creative. And a good friend asked me, well, are you this open and honest about your life all the time? And I said, well, yeah, because I told him a story about me golfing in a thunderstorm, hitting golf balls into the thunderstorm, barefoot in the wet grass, under power lines, waving the golf club, daring the lightning to hit me. And then he said, two questions. Are you this open and honest about your life with everybody? And second, have you ever thought of becoming a motivational speaker or a stand-up comic? And I said yes to both. And here I am 11 years later. Did 7 years of stand-up and ultimately decided that it was more important for me to be a speaker than a stand-up comic. The world doesn't need another stand-up comic, but it does need somebody to be real and genuine and authentic from a stage. And
and that's the whole point of trust creation, I think. From my point, trust creation, being honest, being genuine, is what I like to teach people, because it really comes back to that, helping people with that relationship and getting them to understand that if they're not honest with their customers, their customers aren't going to keep coming back year after year. And I think we touched on that. Yeah, we touched on that a little bit ago. I guess in one of our friendly chats back and forth on Facebook, and you revealed a lot about you that I felt, hey, this is going to make a great interview.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So let's go back to your waving your club into the lightning, because that, I think right there you hit on everybody's frustration. They get to a point in their life where they challenge stuff, and they just say, you know what, just give me whatever you're going to send me because I can handle it.
Yeah. It started off as a hot, humid afternoon here in New England, And I thought, I got $2 left in my pocket. I'll get a bucket of golf balls and give each one a name of something that's frustrating me right now, just to get it out. Give it a name, get it out. And that's when the storm came ripping through. And it's funny because just this past weekend, I was clearing out my storage facility. I've also owned an entertainment company for the past 21 plus years, DJing corporate events, emceeing, and weddings and such. And I found a stack of my old journals, and I thought, I've got to look back and see if I'm telling this story properly. And I actually found the account of the golf club and all that, right to the point of waving it and daring the lightning to hit me. And I just thought, wow, 11 years now removed from it, I was really in a bad spot. Hated my own life, had zero self-confidence, and just realized we can all get that way, but I'm so blessed and honored that I'd taken the time to write it down, because I honestly believe a handwritten journal, not electronic, handwritten so you can get the emotion, is the greatest gift you can give to your future self. And I'm so happy that, good or bad, brutally honestly, I've kept journals for the past 25 plus years.
Wow. And there's a lot of guys, or not guys, a lot of people out there that entrepreneurs especially, they don't journal, they don't take their notes, they don't understand why they should do it or the power that it has. And they go to look back on their journey through being an entrepreneur, and there's nothing that they can remember.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah. I also keep a separate journal as a gratitude journal. Again, something I learned from my role models in the speaking industry. 3 times a week, minimum, I will write down the words, I'll write down the date, and I'll write the words good stuff. And then I'll write 1, 2, 3 on the lines below. In less than a line each, I have to write 3 good moments from that day, or if I do it in the morning, the previous day. That guarantees me at the end of the year, I will have logged at least 450 things that made this year great. Because if you wait till the week between Christmas and New Year's and I go, hey, Rob, how was this year? I can pretty much guarantee, and you're a smart guy, but you're not going to be able to think of 450 individual awesome moments from the year. And yeah, looking back, we can tend to gloss them over. We paint more of a bland landscape maybe. Well, it was okay. It was good. But we're missing those highlights, and we're missing the high point of the waves, and sometimes even the low points in the journals, and most people just get that kind of steady, it was pretty good. They're missing really good extremes.
We could look back and say, well, I took this vacation, or I did this, or I made this bonus. But you're limited to maybe 10 things that you can actually count on.
Yeah.
And yours, you're looking back and saying, wow, there's 300, 400, 500 things. Yeah. And that just makes the year so dynamic.
Yeah, and it gives you something really great to build on for the following year, because I live up here in New England. Right around that Christmas, New Year's time, it's cold, it's dark, it's depressing, and it's just not the best time to reflect on an entire year's worth. Well, I'm freezing. It's my recording studio is in a basement. It's freezing down here anyway. And if you called me and said, how was your year? Well, my feet are ice cold. It's probably going to be dark out, and I'm probably going to fire up the snowblower again. So not the greatest time to be reflecting and planning unless you gave yourself enough reason to really appreciate the year.
Now, let's go back. You went through a divorce. You were $60,000 in debt. How did you overcome that financial burden?
It's been a long process, and there's actually still some of it lingering out there. One of the things people ask me as a speaker, owning businesses is an investment. It just is. I've gotten rid of a lot of it, but there's still some of it still out there. But ultimately what it came down to was a decision to not just see it as this little thing I was going to chip away at or knock down all at once, but to create some value for the world that would engage itself, if I market it properly, that will overcome all of the debt. So it has become really a daily ritual of writing something, coming up with one idea every day. It may go nowhere, But every day I have to create something of value for the world. And tapping back into those old journals from even prior to that, from 25 years ago, I found one of my first ones. It's like, here's Steve's life in kindergarten at that point. But understanding that if I create value and market it properly, the world will respond when I hit the right note. And what I found over the years, that has helped my speaking career grow. It's helped my speaking fees to go up significantly, which is wonderful. It has inspired me to create a brand new project, which is going to be rolling out hopefully in about 4 weeks. I'm just waiting for the final graphic design. But again, it all started from an idea I had one day, telling myself I need to create value for the world. I'm not going to sit around here and worry about money. I'm going to create value. And when it hits the right audience in the right way, I've always said, one book catches fire, I'm set.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to create value every single day. And it has to stay true to me as a person, because everything I do, speaking on this interview today, if we were in the same room and we're sitting here talking positively for an hour, and I leave the studio and I go outside and I spit on your sidewalk, open up my car door, some trash falls out, I don't pick it up, I ding the car next to me and I back out, and you realize, hey, Steve parked in a handicapped parking spot for the last hour. What does that say about me? So I need to make sure that in every phase of my life, everything I say, speak, write, act, all works together, and that has a big impact on the value I try to create every day. And that's the world responds to authenticity and integrity. And I do my best every day to live with both and just keep creating that value.
Right, and a lot of people, I think, use the money situation as a stumbling block. They get hung up on, how do I overcome this situation? How do I go out right now and try to make that money? And they're looking for that instant gratification to try to erase that debt, instead of using that debt as a motivation to do something long term that builds on their authenticity, their credibility, their value in the world. And everybody's looking for that quick fix, and usually that quick fix turns into more money owed, more burden in their life, more stress. And how do you tell people that fixing that financial burden is not an overnight thing?
Yeah, the first thing I tell people is that their biggest successes in life probably have nothing at all to do with money, because mine don't. I need money to survive, obviously, like anybody else. And I had one snotty person once come up after an event and say, well, why should I listen to you? You have a lot of debt, or you had a lot of debt. I said, well, go back through your notes. At what point in this event did I tell you that I can help you make money? I can help you find happiness. I can help you to understand that if you have money challenges, you need to look at them in a certain way. That it's part of my plan, and what you need to do is what I did. I surrounded myself with people who helped me make better decisions with the money I had now, and also put together a plan to get rid of the debt, instead of sitting there looking at it, because if you just stare at it and do nothing, it's only going to get bigger. I mean, I understand compounding interest. It's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. So I just tell people, first off, find what makes you happy in life. Make that a bigger part of your life, and all of your responsibilities, money, food, shelter, all of that, prioritize them. I need to go out and get on a stage at least once a week, because I need to take care of my bills, I need to develop new audiences, and I need to take care of every part of my life. And if I don't, as Darren LaCroix, who's a speaker who I know here from New England, says, if you have something of value to offer the world that could actually help people, and you don't share it, how could you be so selfish? So I see that of being authentic in who I am. I don't tell people, hey, here's a way to get rich quick. People have asked me how to get rich. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not rich yet. When I get there, I'll tell them, and I'll be able to say it with a straight face.
And you have to do it with, you have to be authentic in what you do, because the funny thing is that, as a coach, as a consultant, as an author, speaker, we come across people all day long who want us to help them, but if they do not fit, our personality, or our passion, or something about them just is off,
Yep.
we take them on as a client, that reflects poorly on us.
Yep.
And I think that entrepreneurs need to realize that not everyone out there is their client, and they have to realize that it's not discrimination if you say no. It's just that they're not the right fit for you.
Exactly.
And I tell people, look, I don't care if you know what race you are, what color, what creed, what belief you have. That has nothing to do with how I say yes or no, to helping you. You know, it's that mental openness that you have to learning. Because if you cannot learn, if you question everything I tell you to do, you know, then it's just going to take me twice as long, or it's going to take you twice as long to figure this out. I don't mind, people asking questions. But when they say, Rob, I tried it once, it doesn't work, I'm not going to do it again. You have that closed-minded, you just don't want to do it. I just, I find that, if people say, Rob, I really want you to design this website, or I want you to coach me on something, and it doesn't fit, my parameters, or there's something that's off, about them. I have to say no, because what's going to happen is you will say yes to that person. Word will get out that you're helping someone that's not authentic, that does not have credibility, that is totally opposite of your personality. And now everybody in the world's going to say, Rob, I want you to help me with that idea. And
Yeah.
it's like, then you get burdened trying to help everyone, and it doesn't fit your passion, it doesn't fit your principle, it doesn't fit your ideals, and it's going to affect you as a speaker. Now you
Oh,
become jaded against everybody.
yep. Yep. And that applies to strategic partners as well. Of course, the clients. I've actually had to sever ties with a couple of people with whom I had worked over the years because they could get up there and do the speaking thing, but like I said earlier, with the authenticity in all areas of your life, they were just causing chaos with people, arrogance, negative attitude. And this one particular person, a couple of years ago, we did an event. It was fairly successful. We did well. We wanted to do another one. Nobody signed up. Now we had to pay for the room, and we had all these expenses. And finally, the week of, we had to cancel it. And two different people approached me, just me, off to the side and said, "We're sorry you had to cancel the event. We're sorry you lost money. But let me tell you why nobody was coming to this event. That person you're teamed with, you need to get that person's name and your person's name disconnected. So that person is dragging your reputation down." And we actually not severed our friendship, but I said, I took him out to lunch, and I said, "Look, I need a break. For whatever reason, there's a lot of negative energy around you this year, and I'm seeing it in your social media. I'm hearing it from other people. We need a break." And that was actually 3.5 years ago. We've never done anything together since. I'll still wave and say hi. Good to see you. But as far as, I can't have that person as an asterisk on my name. And it was the best decision I had made, because my solo events after that started to increase in popularity, and I was doing better.
Yeah, and I had the same situation last year, and I thought, the person that I had selected to help to partner with some events was going to turn out. But there was a lot of red flags I started to see. And about a month before the event that we had scheduled was due, I had to cancel. And I
Ooh.
think it hurt my reputation a little bit. But as I looked at the whole picture, I realized that, it wasn't a right fit. There was pieces of the puzzle that weren't matching. We weren't meshing together. And I rather would have canceled it than take people's money and realize that they weren't getting value out of it.
Yeah.
So I had to you know, refund a few people's, monies, but to me, it was well worth it because it prevented something larger from cascading back on me.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are really tough to climb up from underneath because if you leave a bad taste, it's going to take you twice the work to just try to salvage your relationship. And if you've got some powerful people in there with a big reach, for better or for worse, they're going to talk about you.
Right. One of the things that I do when I get up on stage is, I don't have a planned speech, and people are like, "What are you going to talk about?" I don't know. And they're like, "What do you mean you don't know?" I
Yeah.
haven't figured it out yet. And they're like, "Well, you go on in 2 seconds. You better figure something out." And I said, look, a lot of times I get up on stage. Before I even get up on stage, I've talked to a lot of people, in the audience. I get to know where they're from. I get to know, who they are, what they stand for. And because I teach a lot of social media and SEO and trust creation, I get up there and I tell stories.
Yeah.
I tell my own stories. I tell stories of how other people have impacted me.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out of a writers group last year, and there were some keynote speakers and some really dynamic people. And I thought, I just spent an hour entertaining somebody, telling them stories. I didn't give them a rehearsed speech. I didn't give them a polished speech. I spoke from my heart. It was raw. I probably stumbled and stammered, but that was me.
Sure.
So somebody came up to me after the event and they said, Rob, I enjoyed your talk more than everyone else's because you were real. You weren't trying to sell me on anything. You weren't trying to, look down on us. You came to us as a real person, with real problems, with real stories, and we can relate to that.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, okay. So from that point on, I just tell stories, and I
Yeah.
entertain the crowd, and they seem to like that better. I don't have PowerPoints. I don't give, put pictures up on the wall. You know, I've been to enough events that I know that PowerPoints bore people because people don't know how to use them, or they cram too much information on it, or they just read from the darn screen. Well,
Yeah.
crap. I'm sorry, but you could just call the darn thing in and save us all some time.
Yep. The second slide, because I use PowerPoint quite a bit, and it's 98% are visuals because they all tie in with my stories. The second slide starts off with gigantic font and it gets down to micro font by the bottom. And it says, I am not one of those speakers who fills the entire screen with words and then turns his back on you and never looks back and makes connection while he asks you to write them all down and go home and then wonder why Justin Bieber got so famous acting like such a turd. Because they can't read the bottom and they're laughing. And I said, have you seen speakers like this? And one time somebody goes, yeah, the guy before you. And I went, ooh, I hope he's not still here. But yeah, it is such about connection. And that's, someone asked on the National Speakers Association Facebook page recently, how do you know if you just gave an over-the-top amazing presentation? And I thought, well, I don't. It could be a day later, a week, a month, a year. It has nothing to do with how smoothly I delivered, how perfect. I even have had people say, you have to walk in a V on stage and a whole, I don't care.
Hmm.
I go to the stage wherever the energy is. But a week, a month, a year later, when I hear from someone, what hit them as far as something I said or shared and what they did with it, that rocks my world. I found out this past Saturday, I was speaking to about 40 high school freshmen who are part of a group that are developing and working on their community service and becoming future leaders. And I found out that one of the organizers who saw me 2 years ago, something I had said that day got her to take action. And her friend told me this because she was too shy to come up and say it herself. She said her college entrance essay featured you and something you said 2 years ago that got her to change her mind, and she actually used you in her college essay. That made my mom cry. She's 66 years old. That made her cry. That's the type of speaker I want to be. Real, just like yourself. And it's just all about connecting. There's nothing fake when I'm on stage. If I screw up, hey, we're going to have a good old laugh, and we're going to remember it, and we're going to remember a lesson out of it. And that's what it's all about every time I go on. I mean, I have a basic framework of my keynotes and presentations, but we're in the moment. I love talking to people prior to the event who don't even know that I'm the speaker. Make them laugh, have these conversations. As I get up on stage, I've seen some people go, that's the guy. I was just talking to him. I hope I didn't say anything embarrassing.
You know, in 1998, I met Dan Kennedy for the very first time. And Dan's a big speaker in the marketing arena. And I was at an event in Arizona, and I sat down at this table, and this grumpy old man was sitting there. And before I sat down, I said, "Do you mind if I sit down?" He goes, "Just go ahead." I'm like, okay. So as I'm sitting down, you know, he's trying to talk to me and ask me questions about my business. And at the time, I had just started a carpet cleaning business. I was like 3 years old.
Yep.
And, you know, within about 10 minutes, this guy went from grumpy old man to me wanting to kill him. You know, he said my business wasn't unique, that, you know, I was just another sucking rug cleaner who, you know, didn't know marketing from, and I was like, dude, this guy is not going to live long, you know, and I was so upset. I got out of the table, walked away. I told my wife, this guy's not going to live long. I just, if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else. And I was just irritated. I was frustrated. I was upset. Well, then they called the recess over, and everybody went back into the seminar, into the auditorium. So I took my seat, and I'm sitting there shuffling my notes, getting ready for the next speaker. And they called the next speaker's name, and here this grumpy old man comes walking up on the stage, and I'm just doing a face palm. And he got up, you know, he gave his presentation, and that's when I had that light bulb moment. And I knew that marketing had to be part of what I was offering, you know, and it was at that point that when I came back from Arizona, I learned everything I could about marketing, about, you know, human interaction, about, you know, customer service, about, you know, all this other stuff. And, you know, I changed the way my business was interacting with my clients. I changed my pricing. I changed everything. And I think that if it wasn't for him getting me frustrated and getting me angry, you know, I would have never changed.
Yeah.
You know, because if I would have just not sat down, if I would have just saw him, you know, speak, it may have not had the biggest impact on me to make me want to change. But because I was already frustrated at this man for insulting me, I sat there and I listened to every word he said.
No.
And I think that every business out there needs that kick in the butt to show them that there is more to life than their ego, and to let it go, and to, you know, to reach out and take advice from someone, and to use it to propel them to do better things.
Yeah. And being open to getting ripped apart is a huge part of that. I mean, you let him, you survived, I think you said 10 minutes of him ripping on you. You let him go that long. Some people, they get looked at that little bit and they're gone. And they won't risk learning that lesson. I've been savaged by one HR director in particular many years ago. That's when I learned that defense, aeronautical engineers in the defense industry, not my audience. Somebody flashed a big paycheck. Hey, while you're here talking to these 48 project managers from around the country, can you be the closing keynote for this group of people here, 15 aeronautical engineers in a room? And I said, I could speak to anybody. Wrong. I had to give back money on that one. That's how mad she was at me. because I always equate it to one of the old war movies, like a World War II movie, because now you shoot the plane, it blows into dust. But back then, it got some holes, it would leak a little oil, it would turn to smoke, then it'd be flame, and over the course of a while, it goes down, down, down. Yeah, I got shot 5 minutes into a 90-minute presentation and trailed smoke for an hour and a half. Horrific. Absolutely, it nearly ended my career
You
at
know,
about the one.
well, I don't know if it ended your career. I think now that you have a fantastic story to share with people on Crash and Burn.
At the time, though, boy, it was devastating because my ego took the biggest hit before my brain realized the lesson in it, and I was just crushed. I mean, she called me and she said, "I see you put our logo on your website under clients," and I said, "Yeah." She goes, "If you don't take that down, and anybody who calls me, I'm going to tell them exactly what I think of you." It was gone within 45 seconds.
And now with social media, it'll take our strengths and our weaknesses and make them even worse or better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we have to do now is be more authentic, be
Mm-hmm.
more credible. And if we even in my share book that I published almost 2 years ago, I tell people, look, you know, your stories, your successes, your failures, you know, especially your failures, may sound horrific, may sound painful, frustrating, but they are there to help you uh, instill in others, how to improve themselves, how to be better entrepreneurs. Yeah, we went through that pain, but we're going to tell you a story so that you don't have to go through that either. Yeah, maybe um, aeronautic engineers or carpet cleaners for that matter aren't your audience, but those are the lessons learned that you can now learn. You can take to say, what, okay, that's not my demographic, and these are the types of clients that I'm really looking for. So if you know them, please send them to me. But these are the ones I really don't want to work for because I really don't know that industry.
Right.
And so, you know, I think there's lots of things that entrepreneurs, especially because they think that they know everything, try to, the whole adage is fake it till you make it. Only
Yeah.
goes so far, and
Yeah.
and early on in my career, yeah, I can say I faked it till I made it. But the problem is that this is not an industry that favors those people that fake it. If you cannot
Mm-hmm.
prove it to them with your credibility, your authenticity, your trust, you're not going to go too far.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had somebody again every once in a while. Somebody usually they're better dressed than I am or make more money than I do. They look down the nose, and I had one person on a at an all day event. I was one of the speakers. Look at me because I'll wear jeans. They'll be pressed in a sport jacket and a white business shirt. He says, "What qualifies you to be a speaker to help anybody improve their lives?" I said, "Well, I screwed my life right into the ground, put it all back together better than before, discovered the love of my life, created more revenue than I've ever enjoyed, and I'm happier than I ever was. And I took notes. That's what qualifies me to be a speaker." Oh, and he was, selling some get-rich-quick scheme, build your mailing list and sign up. It was some multi-level, direct marketing thing where he was just, it was, well, the owner of my company makes seven figures. I said, yeah, well, the owner of your company's standing on a pile of bodies. And that's it. And I saw y'all get up there with the big rah, 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 hey, 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 you can do this. So there's 250 people here. How many of them are going to make money? One of them. How many of them could be happier tomorrow based on me sharing a story? More than one, probably. Since I'm just speaking about what I know. That works, that's all.
I've been invited to so many events to speak, and they all end in You'll have to pay your own way to get here, and we want you to sell from the stage. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no and no.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't engage in pitch fests. I don't believe in them. I think that what happens is we use these motivational keywords, maybe some NLP and our powerful conversations with these people, and we convince them that our product is by and large the next best thing to breathing. And they take our product, they go home, they put it on their shelf, they never open it. 90 days later, they say, you know what? Why the hell did I even buy this thing? This guy just suckered me.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and so you now have a lot of chargebacks. You have, credit cards coming back to you and say, you know what? Give the guy his money back. And you got a lot of people complaining because your product doesn't work. It's not the fact that they didn't open it. It's the fact that you tricked them into buying it in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I stand up there and I tell a story and I said, look, if you want to buy my books, that's great. They're available on Amazon. I have a limited supply, but I'm not, if you don't have the money to buy my book, I will greatly, graciously give you my book. And all I want you to do is pay it forward. You know, take that $20, give it to your favorite charity. I don't care what you do with it. You know, I think that if you're desperate and you need something that gets you by, that gives you that edge maybe on social media or helps you with your SEO so you can finally make some money, you're going to remember me better.
Yeah.
But I think pitch fests are the wrong way to build trust. I think they're the wrong way to engage your audience. And here's the problem with pitch fests. If you go to a 2-day event, everybody's already bought everything the first day. So all the speakers on the second day, are trying to work doubly hard to pitch their products, and nobody has any money. So none of the speakers the second day make any money. So,
Right.
it becomes one of those, you know, so when you get a speaker that's just talking about stories and sharing advice, and people are like, wow, he didn't sell me a darn thing.
Yeah,
What,
because you can kind of see when there's 15 minutes left, they're going, here comes the pitch. And I don't do that either. I've had people at the end come up and say, do you have any books or anything? And my biggest thing is, oh, yeah, over there. I don't care. What kills me, and this is, I know it's a marketing tactic and a sales technique, is when speakers, and I had this conversation with someone recently because this bugs me to no end. They've got the whole list of all their materials printed up, and it says $397 for this package. And the speaker goes, okay, take out your pens, and I want you to cross out that price and write this. And they discount their stuff in the moment, like they're treating everybody special. Well, after the third or fourth person has done this, my opinion only, that's slimy.
mm-hmm.
Because then it's just because you're just preying on people's emotions in the moment, that you're the great answer to all their problems. So I'm just gonna, if I ever say, hey, look at that price, what does it say? Good, just wanted to make sure you could read it. Or I'll say, change that 2 to a 3, and then they'll all just laugh, and I go, no, I'm not gonna do any of that. And I catch heat from other speakers sometimes because I don't do any of those things, and I don't mind, because it's not for everybody.
15 years ago, I would get these notices and say, come to our seminar. It's $1,500, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's a little pricey, but let's see what we can do. And if it's good information, I always find that even if I get 1 or 2 ideas that make me money, then it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now, the present, and I get these same notices almost from the exact same speakers that I had 15 years ago. Come to my event, it's only $29. What? Wait, it was $1,500, 15 years ago. Now it's $29. What's the catch? What's the deal? Well, we're trying to, fill seats. Really? So, in 15 years, people have devalued their own service to just trade dollars for butts and seats.
Yep.
Doesn't make sense. And so, 15 years ago, they'd have, if they were lucky, 100 people in the audience paying $1,500. Now they have 1,000 people in the audience, or 2,500 paying $29, and you're like, okay, this is going to be a pitch fest.
Oh
because
yeah.
they got to make it up somewhere.
Yep. Yep, and it's too bad because I've been to the all day Tony Robbins events. I just actually found the ticket stub from July of 2000 down in Boston. And Tony was there, and I love Tony's stuff. I have nothing against Tony. His audience has deified him a little too much for my taste, but that's not his fault. It's theirs. But he had Donald Trump was there, Larry King was there, and a couple other people. There was a gentleman there named Sandy Botkin, and he had been the IRS's top gun for many, many years. And he ultimately decided that he wanted to work on the side of the entrepreneur, to educate, to inform. And so he switched allegiances, and he had a $189 cassette program. How to learn everything you need to know about maximizing your tax benefits as an entrepreneur. Now, I didn't have $189. Bought it anyway. Listen to that thing top to bottom. It has probably saved me tens, if not $100,000, which I would have lost in the past years, because he didn't pitch it. He just said, hey, look, I've only got 45 minutes to say this. I'm going to give you some tips. If you want to know more, I've got a program. And that was the end of the pitch. And then he just educated for that 45 minutes. And I said, I have got to get that gentleman's program, because I was just so enthralled with what he said. He wasn't salesy at all. He just spoke right to us and said, look, I can give you this many in our time here. Write them down and use them. And I went and bought the program. I had a credit card with me that I just gotten, and that was the first charge on it, $180. And I still have that program. It was just brilliantly done. He spoke in my language, didn't speak over my head, spoke in my language to the frustrations that I feel. There were 4,000 or 5,000 people there. I felt like he was talking right to me. I was nodding the whole time thinking, oh my gosh, yeah. And I just knew I had to get it, and I've still got it. I'm still learning from it.
And those programs, those low-cost programs, I think, not to say that they're better than the higher price ones, but I think they appeal to more people because, you're not making, 20 installments, or you're not making a car payment. You're just once and done, and people can learn, and they appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff that I do is free. I just give it away. I've got this whole thing on acts of kindness that I created a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, it's not doing me any good. I may as well teach other people how to do acts of kindness. So here, get on my mailing list, and here you go. Here's the 7-day Helpers High, 7 acts of kindness that cost nothing. They're all free. And at the end of that, you feel like giving more. I have another one called 30 Ways in 30 Days, and none of them cost really more than $5 or $10, and many of them are free. You just take it. I'm not trying to make any money off this. I just want more people in that mindset and identifying that, well, yeah, we heard this from that speaker, Steve, and he seemed like a nice guy, and he gave us all this stuff to go be nice ourselves. I mean, I genuinely care about my audience. I want them to be rock stars for themselves. They don't have to go make $1 million, but come on, be happy at least.
Now, how can people get a hold of you, Steve?
They can go to my website, which is stevegamlin.com, Gamlin. Everything is there, the blogs, the podcasts, the videos, many of the interviews I've done through radio or television or things like this are all there. And even Super Teddy, who is my little canine co-author, has his own page and his own little story of being born in an alley to a stray mama dog in the streets of New Orleans to now being rescued, fostered, evacuated, and adopted by my fiance and her mom. And he's actually written his own book, and you can get it for free on his webpage, giving that PDF version away as well.
And how does having a dog, maybe a mascot, or even helping your dog have a blog, how does that help you?
It means anything with his picture on it sells more than mine. And I've also discovered that when I bring him to events, I turn into the teacher on Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. No one pays attention to me, so I had to stop bringing him. But he is featured prominently in all of my presentations with lessons from his book, and I got to say, his cute little face matched with an action, those are the ones that people quote back to me a year, 2 years later that say that impacted me. So, trading off that little cute factor with some really good wisdom, yeah, it's been a great addition to my career.
Now, your logo that you have, explain that. I mean, you have, I guess, a fire.
Yes. Yeah, years ago, somebody asked me what set me apart as a speaker. And I said, well, I blend motivation and humor. And they said, and? And they said, well, can you change people's lives? And I said, no. I said, well, what are you then? I said, well, I'm like motivational firewood. If I say something and they take that bit of information and add it to their spark or passion or desire and do something with it, then they create fire. I said, I just provide motivational firewood. And the person said, wow, I like that. Have you trademarked it? So I did. And then my graphic designer at the time came up with that logo. And it's really caught on because so many speakers say, hey, I'm here to change your life. And I tell people, I can't change your life one bit. And don't tear up my check yet because I'm going to prove that we're still good. So just setting myself apart by not saying I'm here to rescue you or be this evangelist has really helped. And so many people have responded to that phrase in such a positive way. I've just been so appreciative that the person I shared with that day reinforced it and saw the possibility with it and inspired me to trademark it, which I own the trademark for, and to go with that as my branding. And I've spent days with some of the most successful speakers in the country who both said, we really like that. They said, that's great. Your speaker demo video is solid, and you're likable, and you're funny. And at the time, they said, and then we looked at your website and your marketing materials, and it all went to crap. So that was a slap in the face that I invested a lot of money into here. And every day since then has been a positive step to market myself better and to be more consistent with all of my messages. And it's just been such a great thing. Motivational Firewood trademark is everywhere.
And I think we're going to end on that because, we started out as a fireside chat without the fire, but you brought on the firewood in the conversation and sparked our fire. So, I think it was a great talk, and I'd like to be able to continue this down the road, maybe in a future one. I think that, for all the Business Dojo members out there that are listening, or anybody out there who's listening to this, I hope that you've gotten value out of it. And to reach out to Steve, to go to his website, stevegamlin.com, join his list, get some of his free stuff, donate to his Get Out of Debt campaign.
We're good. We're on track. I want people to focus on their own.
Show up to his house in New England and help redecorate his sound studio, bring it up to the modern era.
Get me out of the 70s, man.
But I appreciate the time that you took, and I hope that we can partner again on something excellent. I think that we have the same core values, and I think that's important for people to realize that the people following you on social media, the people following you in real life, need to understand those core values, need to understand your branding and what it stands for, and they need to be able to say that you're a man of integrity or a woman of integrity, so that when they tell others about you, those other people are like, wow, I gotta call him. I gotta get him to speak. So I appreciate the hour that you spent with us, and I hope that we can do it again.
I would love to. And it's so funny, you see the end of interviews and people say, oh, wow, thank you very much. Here's my ending. Rob, this was an absolute blast. Seriously, this was so much fun, and I can't wait to share time again and share a little more information to people.
And if you have any last words of wisdom you can end with, that'd be awesome.
Yep, I'm actually going to quote Super Teddy from his book, Chapter 2. Wake up every day and wag yourself happy. And that just means put something good in your head and in your heart first thing in the morning to get your day started off positively.
Thank you. Hey, enjoy your day.
You too, Rob. Thank you.